Hello? You play to win the game.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
We're taking receipts, and I can't wait to shove it down everyone's throat when it comes around.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt
I do
again.
believe in the Jets defense. I do believe that Zach Wilson will be a game manager, and I do think that the special teams will step up because it's impossible for them to have a game that bad again. If your shitty Dolphins defense was able to keep them to 19 points.
The Vince McMahon song goes, Danny, I hope you add it to the clip. You guys have absolutely no chance of even sniffing a win this week. He's feeling a little bit more confident than I am. I am not. 0% chance. I think you guys lose this game 37-10. I'm giving you 10 points on this game. Wow. Listen, I get that it's this much, but you sound pretty optimistic about your potential of escaping with a dub. Where are you getting these 17 points from?
From my run game? I hope I'm right on this so I can clip all these back next week. And then we'll get a field goal.
Make sure you get me laughing at you.
3 days later.
Deep ball on the way. Incomplete. Gabe Davis, the intended target. And the Jets will win it.
Oh, Manny. So lucky that I pulled up the wrong video. I didn't have the clown music on. Welcome to episode number 10 of Battered Jets Fans. I am your host. I know we're 10 in now. I am Daniel Granada, my host, Manny Palacios. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing amazing. Listen, I didn't listen. The one you put on Twitter was definitely much
That's
more.
the one I was supposed to play now. I didn't realize I uploaded the wrong one.
It was vicious of you, but you know what? I don't mind chewing on that receipt because I could definitely go down, and I'm sure when we bring our guests on, I could not have been possibly the only one that felt that way, but I was obviously the loudest one to admit it. But go ahead.
Oh, no, for sure. But before we get started, because we got plenty to get to, we do have a special guest. My man here went viral after the Browns game, after the Dolphins game with his reactions. And in case anybody doesn't know who I'm talking about, let me just play this quick little clip right here.
The Jets got it! They got it!
No signal yet. Now
Jets ball! Jets ball! The Jets got it! Win this fucking game! Come on, Jets! Nothing to lose.
I love it.
Come on, 2 chances here
for the Jets. Flacco with the it's caught. Touchdown!
Touchdown!
Garrett
Touchdown!
Wilson. York hit a 65-yarder today during the warm-ups. Intercepted. It's picked off. Ashton Davis.
Let's go! Give me that W!
Oof, gotta love that energy. So, welcome in our guest, Justin C, on all social medias, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram,
TikTok.
You got it all going on. What's going on, man?
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me. I'm really, really excited. This is actually my first appearance on any type of show.
Ooh.
So this is actually a privilege. I've done before Twitch NBA, their show, but football is my forte. So this is the right place to be. So
We'd love it. We'd love to hear that.
Love to hear that. Now, before we get started,
yeah,
I want to know how you were feeling about this game before it happened, because Manny keeps telling me absolutely nobody believes that the Jets would win. And now, before you answer this question, I do understand that there are some Jets fans that literally pick the Jets to win every game.
Correct.
So those Jets fans, I don't count because
keep them out of that circle.
Right, because they'll be like, oh, but I said they would win. Yeah, but you say they're gonna win every week. I'm talking about those real fans that try to really like dissect, like, okay, they might win, they might not. How were you feeling before this game happened?
now I've been called an optimistic Oscar on Twitter, right? But I will say I try to keep it very real. The last couple of years have really drained me. So, but I do understand the team really well. So I understand what we have in the defense. We have the run game. I was there at the Patriots game last week, so it was definitely disheartening to lose that way in that fashion. But I was talking with my father all week. I was like, oh, Dad, I don't know why I feel good about this game, but I had felt for weeks that we matched up well with Buffalo. We have one of the best secondaries in the league. We have the ability to rush the passer. I was like, okay, we could probably match up well with Buffalo. Don't know how we'll really score because they're really good. And, we have to push Zach into situations where he has to throw more. I don't really like that. But I was like, Dad, I feel pretty good about this. But my dad said, we're going to freaking win. I was like, okay. So I felt good. I was like, listen, if we go into this game and we can trade blows with them, we have a chance. And it's, of course, any given Sunday. But when I saw the Jets start off, I was like,
Well, yeah. So, well, you know what? That's a great point because I felt optimistic. Now, when we recorded this episode last week, I told them it would be a close game. I told them we had a shot. I was offended that he said we had no shot. I said we had a shot, but I didn't think we would win.
My point was to offend
we had a shot. Right. So fuck you. So I thought we had a shot, but I wasn't sure. I just couldn't see it. But that was Monday. I don't know if you could see what I'm wearing. I'm wearing a Luigi costume in that episode because it was just after I had done trick-or-treating with the kids. I was still emotionally drained from the day before, from that loss before. As the week went on, I'm not sure why I started convincing myself, like, you know what? We have a good defense. We have a solid running game. If Zach Wilson can protect the ball, we have a chance. At no point did I think we would win until Sunday morning. And I don't know what the hell got into me, but I never gamble. I'm scared of gambling. The first time I ever gambled was Sunday, and I bet on the Jets.
He did.
And I won. And I won pretty big.
Yeah.
And I won pretty big. So I don't know. Before Sunday's game, I thought we would win. I don't know what it was that changed in me, but I put the money on it, and it cashed out. What's going on, man?
In all fairness, if you've caught any episode since week 1, I've picked the Jets to win some games, and I've been right more often than not. And I've always said that even after you guys lost Hall to that injury, I said as long as you have Michael Carter doing what he did last season, you have a solid defense. I just didn't feel like Zach was going to come out and have the game that he had, and that's why I literally gave you guys absolutely no chance to win that game.
But didn't you? Well, I told you that after that performance, they would make it a point during practice to tell him, dude, we don't want to see any of that shit.
100%.
Right.
And that's I told you last episode. I was like, look, this is why I feel a little optimistic, because if that didn't happen against the Patriots, he might have came out slinging it against the Bills. He might have been scrambling for his life like he likes to do. But it was strap back and let it go. He wasn't scrambling around at all. If it wasn't there, he was throwing it away or ducking and running. And
he had a great game.
That's what we need. That's what we need. We need him to
I think he showed tremendous growth. I mean, the Patriots game, again, he's got 7 interceptions in 2 games against them. He obviously got hurt last year, so there obviously is bad history with New England.
Yeah.
And losing that game was just demoralizing. Being at the stadium and we got the pick 6 taken away, you felt this weird aura around the whole stadium. I was really downcast that following Monday at work. Like I hadn't been like that in a long time. And I was like, okay, Zach's going to have to show us. He's going to show us what he's made of in this quarterback, because his ability to bounce back as a young player is so crucial, because the confidence, and it can snowball on guys. You know, Donald it really snowballed, and there was a lot of factors contributing to that. But for him as a young player against the Bills, as great as a team that they are, and I still think they're going to win the AFC when it's all said and done. But man, I was really taken away with the fact that he was able to be accurate with the ball, decisive. I think he only really bailed out of the pocket once.
And that's
threw
what
the ball away. And again, he missed a couple of throws, but he was on. He was.
And a lot of people were saying he has to show us. And I wasn't sure if they meant like he has to show us, like he has to throw for 2 touchdowns, 250 yards. Like I feel like he showed us doing what he did. Just make sure you help us win the game. We rushed 8 rushes in a row that last drive, and
it was bullying.
One pass. Yeah, we bullied the hell out of
the
Jets.
The Jets disrespected the Bills on that final drive. That I was like, okay, we're going to ball control this the whole way. I thought we were going to dink and dunk a little bit. No, they just ran. If you saw Baldwin's breakdown, 3 or 4 times in a row, the same exact play. That's ground and pound from.
And for a defense, I feel like that's demoralizing, because if you know they're going to run it at you, and they're telling you, I'm just going to move you out of the way, and there's nothing you can do about it. That has to be demoralizing. And that's literally all they did that drive, outside of that one pass to Denzel Mims, which again, Zach Wilson, we don't need him to do a lot, but just do that. If it's 3 and 5, just hit that quick pass accurately, hit it between the numbers, and the receivers, we have great receivers. The receivers do the rest. This is 2009 all over again. We just need that formula. Go ahead, man. You have something to say?
Yeah, I think besides it being demoralizing, the fact that you guys are literally patching your O-line all year. This is like your 20th version of an O-line this year,
and we're on our 4th right tackle.
Right. This patched up O-line literally manned up against the Buffalo D-line and said, there's nothing you could do about it. We're on our backup, and we're going to run the ball down your throat. That was very impressive for me to watch.
And we're in a great position because not only is our offensive line performing well, even though it's a bunch of backups, but we're going to get George Fant back after the bye week and Max Mitchell.
Right.
So, and those aren't even the starters. Those aren't even the actual, like Mekhi Becton's not coming back, but AVT isn't coming back, but we just keep getting better as far as depth goes, because as they come back, our current starters go back as backups, but we have depth. So I feel like we have a nice core as long as Zach Wilson can keep managing these games as he's been doing.
And shout out to Joe Douglas, because Nate Herbig at right guard has been an absolute hog. I mean, they picked him up before the season started, and it's like, okay, Joe Douglas addressed the offensive line. Cool. Who is he? But he's come in, and I mean, he's been as rock solid at right guard as you can ask for. So that's just a testament to Joe Douglas' ability to get talent, because they've been able to get a lot of waiver wire pickups right around the end of the summer, and they've paid off well.
And I think that's why it was so much ability to move AVT around, because we had that right guard. All of a sudden, once he got there, because once I thought Dwayne Brown came back, I thought they might move AVT back to right guard. But because Herbig took that spot over, go ahead, take over right tackle. Like, our offensive line has been, it's been surprising to me. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be as solid as it's been.
No, for sure.
So, Justin, biggest win in a decade, yes or no?
Oh, yes. 2015 was some fluky wins. That was a really weird season.
That Patriots win to me was the biggest win in the last decade.
I was at that
point,
game.
I thought we were going to make a really far or deep playoff run that year. After
that win was big because, of course, it was the Brady Patriots 2015, and the Jets were on a hot run that year with a good schedule and the Fitzmagic. But it was dampened immediately by losing to Buffalo the following week. So it loses its weight, in my opinion. This was now, with everything going on in the last 3-4 years with the Jets, they've had 6 wins combined, and how good Buffalo's been in that time, and Buffalo absolutely crucifying this team in the last couple of matchups at MetLife Stadium. For them to come back and trade blows and really bully them, like we said, in the fourth quarter, get after Josh Allen for 5 sacks. I think this was a win that was important for the locker room, especially coming off that loss to the Patriots. You want to see a young team really grow, and I think for the direction of where this team is going forward, I think this win was a big step in that, and we hope that there's another win in the second half where we can say that was the biggest win in the last 10 years. But 1A, 1B, or 1 and 1 and 2 interchangeable.
To your point with the Patriots being dampened by the Bills the next week, Manny, if the Jets come by after a bye week, go to New England, if they lose that game, do you feel like that dampens this Bills victory or just the season overall? Because that would hurt me if we come back after a bye week and lose to the Patriots again.
As close as this division is right now, and as surprising as the Jets have been, I don't think it will, for the simple reason that if you guys come out and you lose in Foxborough to the Patriots, it's kind of like, all right, we split with them. And most of the teams in this division, you figure we're going to split.
No, we didn't split with them. They would have swept us.
No, but what I'm saying is you figure you'd go into, whether it's them coming to you or you going to them, when you look into the division each year, you're thinking, all right, we may split with most of the teams in our division. For me, at the beginning of the season, I'm like, all right, we may get swept by the Bills. I was wrong, but they may destroy our asses when we go to Buffalo in a few weeks. For you guys, I don't know if you guys felt the same way. Buffalo might tear us apart, but we may split with the Dolphins and we may split with the Patriots. So if you guys come out of a bye week and you have a week to prep for the New England Patriots, I think it's going to hurt, but I don't think it diminishes what you did to Buffalo, because besides myself, a lot of people did not believe in the Jets. A lot of people did not believe in you guys. And not only just from this game. Yeah, this game, a lot of people picked you guys to lose, but coming into the season, Brady Quinn being one of those big people, you guys might be 0-9 by the bye week. And I get it. He's backpedaling now, but he knows what he meant. A lot of people are like, you guys may have 3 wins, 4 wins coming into the bye. You guys have shut a lot of people up. So even if you go and lose to the Patriots, it's going to be more, you didn't get your head on right during the bye week and prepping for this game. But I don't think in any way it diminishes what you guys did to the Buffalo Bills. You guys earned the hell out of that dub, and you should definitely relish in it.
Justin, is that dead now? That whole talk about, oh, you guys just beat up a bunch of backup quarterbacks. Like, did we finally put that to rest after this week?
1,000%. 1,000%. And truthfully,
before you get on that, Justin, isn't Josh Allen supposedly up there for MVP talk? I'm pretty
top
sure.
three.
I'm pretty sure you just beat the MVP. Yep. I'm just letting you know. Go ahead.
Yep. So that they definitely killed that narrative, and I don't think the Jets buy into that anyways. So the way Jets are going to look at it, whoever you put in front of us, we have to battle anyways. The Jets aren't going to change how they play defense for anybody. We're going to play coverage. We're going to rush the pass rusher. You try to beat us the way we want to beat us. Whether if your backup can do it, again, for the Dolphins, we knocked out Bridgewater the first play of the game. They had the backups. We can't help that. You can only beat who's in front of you. And nobody, and I mean nobody, gave two shits whether the Jets had Luke Falk, Trevor Siemian, anybody playing in the last couple of years for this team.
Or Joe Flacco this year.
They weren't apologizing for it. Jet fans, us, we were like, oh, well, we don't have anybody playing. Well, no one cared, but now nobody we don't care either. So we won't.
Right. And nobody cared that when we lost to the Patriots, we were just starting to game plan around not having AVT or Breece Hall. Like, that was our first game without having our two best offensive weapons so far this year. Because I don't care what anybody says. To me, those were the two offensive MVPs so far this year.
All pros.
So at that point, we were adjusting to playing without them. And obviously, we didn't adjust well because we stopped running the ball and started throwing the ball. So nobody apologized for that. So I'm not apologizing for the Jets being up on the Bills. Now, Manny, there's been a lot of people on Twitter.
Yeah.
Dolphin fans.
Here we go.
That have been saying that the Jets' victory is cheapened by the lack of, what was it, Mike Milano, was it that they were missing?
Matt Milano on the defense, yeah, he was hurt.
So they were saying that because a lot of people were talking crap about the Dolphins beating the Bills without their secondary, that they shouldn't credit our win either. Now, I kind of wanted to get your take on that.
For sure.
I thought that was a little weird.
For sure. So this is straight to the Dolphin fans out there that if you're even listening to this show, I'm definitely calling you out, and you could clip this. And you could clip this if you want. You can't say my team beat the Bills regardless of excuses. Oh, they're missing their secondary. It is. And then another team comes in and beats that same Bills team and be like, oh, no, it doesn't apply to you guys. That's why when they bring up the whole injury talk, well, we had injured quarterbacks, blah, blah, and that. I don't use excuses when we lost to you guys. It is what it is. Teddy Bridgewater got hurt. Skylar Thompson came in. We still got the loss. A loss is a loss for me in my book. But the fact that Dolphin fans would even be like, oh, it diminishes, fuck that. You guys rock the Bills. Fuck the Bills Mafia. Everything in your power to beat them that it took, you guys did. You stopped Josh Allen. You made Josh Allen look worse than Teddy Bridgewater. That is amazing in itself. So for me, even though when we beat the Bills, remember, they ran 90 plays on offense against this defense. So they beat us. I mean, we beat them, but we stopped them from getting into the end zone, and that's how we won. You guys stopped their offense completely. Like, they had no offense. So your win, yeah, I would give it a little bit even higher than what we did, but our defense, even after spending 90 plays on the field, still managed a way to get that dub. So for me, a dub is a dub, whichever way you look at it. I just don't appreciate the fact that some Dolphin fans be like, well, your win is diminished because they're missing a middle linebacker. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
The Jets and Dolphins fans were going back and forth about that because some Jets fans are saying, our win was more impressive. Now, I feel like there was a difference between both wins because,
by the way, I agree
were literally missing.
Your win is more impressive. That's what I will say. Your win is more impressive.
And that's what I was going to get to, because they were literally missing the entire secondary when you guys played them, which wasn't that big a deal to me, but whatever. They were missing this. What I thought was the biggest deal in your game was that that was the epitome of bend but don't break.
For sure.
Because they were just running up and down the field. You guys got very timely turnovers, which gave them the ball back, or you the ball back, and that's why they couldn't get a lot of points up.
500 yards of offense.
And at the end of the first half and at the end of the game, both times it was clock mismanagement, and they ran out of time instead of kicking a field goal both times. So they had an opportunity to win that game. Against us, although it was only a 3-point victory, I felt like we dominated their offense. So I do think there was a bit of a difference there. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I listen. Your wins are going to come differently in every week to week. It's a different story, different circumstances. Buffalo also was blazing hot, and Buffalo looked like they were gassed. I mean, a lot of guys were going out with cramps. When you saw Allen and Tua at the end of the game, I thought Allen looked like he was ready to just collapse.
He was like crying. He was crying into his shoulder or something.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that plays into it. And again, Dolphins, again, you get a win. You don't really care how you want to. Okay.
Right.
Had injuries, but
Especially
thank you. We'll take the W.
Right.
But again, with the situation with the Buffalo just rolling on against everybody, Buffalo is actually rolling into both games. And again, you got division rivals. It's always going to be a little bit weird. So you want to expect it to be close. So, I don't buy into it too much with the back and forth because I know how it is. I don't want to sound hypocritical, making the same excuses against somebody else. Oh, you only beat them because they had this guy. And again, you don't know what team's going to come into each week. So take it where you can.
And real quick tip on that, by the way, for anybody listening that thinks that the Jets got diminished. When they played my Bills, and I have no problem saying this, Josh Allen, 42 of 63 for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. 8 carries for 47 yards. Hey, Danny, what was that stat line that Josh Allen had against you guys? 18 of 34, 205, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. I'm going to assume that you guys shut them down. Obviously, like I said, way more impressive the way you guys beat them than the way we did. But at the end of the day, they both show like wins in the column.
The 2 touchdowns they had, well, I mean, they were both basically third down rushing scrambles that he got, and he got a first down. And he ended up like on the half-yard line and then ran it in right after. Yeah. And the second one, it was a 3rd and 10, and I want to say he scrambled for like 20 yards and scored a touchdown. Through the air, they were doing nothing.
Right.
Now, we're going to have a hard time containing Justin Fields in a couple of weeks if we keep playing that flat line defense because once he gets the corner, they're gone. So we can't do that against Justin Fields. But through the air, he wasn't doing anything.
He may have been the best running back on the team, but he definitely wasn't the best quarterback on the field on this past Sunday.
No, for sure not. Now, before we move on, I did want to ask you, Justin, when that game started, like I felt like they were going to win before the game started. Like right before that morning, I was like, they're going to win. The first 3 or 4 plays.
I got the text.
Kickoff.
I got the text.
The kickoff, that first throw. Like, how were you feeling after that? Because at some point, you feel like it's the same old Jets.
Right. Well, for me, when I watch the games, I can kind of get the feeling of where the game's going to go right when it starts. Sometimes I get surprised. So this game started, I was like, well, that's not a good start. You don't want to put Buffalo at the midfield. And then Diggs gets the big play on Sauce, and I was like, okay, that's how you still have an opportunity to respond.
Right.
When they got that interception, I was like, okay, now they're playing ball. But then I went back, it swung back. It was 14-3. And that I felt was the critical point of the game for me. I call it the emotional point in the game when I talked to my uncle. The Jets had to go down and get a score. I was like, okay, it's 14-3. It's the second quarter. We've exchanged some blows. Buffalo's gotten theirs with the plays. We have to go down and punch in right now to make us feel like, okay, we're right into this game. And sure enough, they went down and got the field goal. When we got that touchdown drive, I already felt like, yeah, we're probably going to win this game today.
Well, and that touchdown drive was big because there was a 4th and I want to say, was it 4th and 3 or 4th and 1? But we went for it on 4th and 1 instead of taking the field goal because we're like, we got to get a touchdown.
Yeah, that was a must.
And Zach Wilson got a rollout to CJ Uzama, picked up a couple yards, got the first down, and we got that touchdown. That was a big play. I really like that although we didn't put the entire game on Zach's back, we did trust him in some big situations, and he came through big time.
Yeah, so he was throwing some rifles yesterday. He was throwing some dots. I mean, even with the arm angles, he was doing the RPOs. He's throwing sidearm.
Sidearm.
He was leading Garrett Wilson. I mean, no one could touch Garrett Wilson either on the field, by the way.
Now, did you think Mike White was going to come in when Zach Wilson came down?
He didn't look like he was serious. I was wary. I don't want to see Mike White. I was like, I was already like, I was like, I don't want to see Mike White because that Mike White hive, the cult, that part of the Jet fandom that still believes in him. I just don't want them to have any validation. I just want to see Zach. But
me too.
He once they saw him back on the sideline, he was at the bench. I knew he was fine. I was like, I breathed a sigh of relief because Mike White would have thrown on a couple 4 picks.
No, he threw like 4 for the 4 or 5 last year against the Bills.
He threw 4 against the Bills in 1 half. He had 8 in 11 quarters of football.
But let me tell you something. That was still one of the funnest games I ever watched when he beat the Bengals.
Yes, it was great. It was great reactions back then for that game as well. I was streaming for that, but by that ship sailed immediately once he got the Bills.
So, Manny, If I tell you, I think the Jets have the best defense in the NFL right now, what do you say to that?
I think you're approaching that level. I think your team right now, if I'm not mistaken, you guys are like top 10, top 15 in almost every single category when it comes to the defense. So you're definitely approaching that level. And the fact that you did it against Josh Allen, again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but that's the more impressive part, because leading into this game, people would have been like, well, you're playing a bunch of backup quarterbacks, which most of the fan bases have tried to use against you. But the fact that you've shut down A-Rod, get it. A lot of people have shut down A-Rod this year. And then you did it against big-time Josh Allen, which we both have said, hey, we were wrong about this guy. And just, I appreciate the fact that you said the same thing that we've said. We still think Buffalo's going to finish number one in the NFL just for the AFC. But
if they can avoid us in the playoffs.
Ooh.
Or if Josh Allen can be healthy, because that's something to watch for tomorrow.
Oh, that UCL? I keep hearing about the UCL.
McDermott's going to have a press conference tomorrow at 12, which is going to tell the fate of Josh Allen's injury, if he's going to miss time. Because I think if he misses time, that changes the entire conversation for all the teams in this division.
Right. And to answer your question, Danny, you guys are approaching it, but by no means would I say that right now you're the best.
We're top 10 in yards allowed, rushes yards allowed, passing yards allowed, and points allowed.
That was off the dome. You see? I was off the dome. So
yes,
I would say that you guys are definitely approaching that spectrum. But we thought coming into when we did our preseason show that you guys would be much better defensively, especially with Robert Saleh being a defensive coordinator. I said once he gets his players in the building and this system starts kicking in, you guys are going to be very impressive. Like, defense wasn't the issue when we started talking about this team, but you guys are definitely putting it together right when it matters.
I think our defensive backs, we might have the best corner duo in the league. And a lot of people don't even talk. Well, first of all, nobody talks about DJ Reed, and DJ Reed is balling.
Stud.
He's a straight stud. What a pickup that was. Nobody talks about him. It has to be because maybe Sauce Gardner has a cooler nickname. I'm assuming that's why it is. But DJ Reed is balling on the other side. He picked up after that first play. Diggs picked up. Reed picked up Diggs for most of the game. So, that nobody's talking about Reed. And Michael Carter is probably one of the best nickel corners in the league. Nobody even knows Michael Carter, and he is probably one of the best nickel corners in the league. Our safeties has picked it up a little bit. I still wish our safeties were better.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
But you know what? They played okay. Whitehead had a big interception. And back to what you were saying, Justin, when the game started and this guy fell on the kickoff and then Diggs hit that. Yes, again. And then he kicked that long pass on Sauce. When Whitehead got that pick, it reminded me, and I know it's obviously two different scenarios completely, but it reminded me of the Patriots playoff game where the Patriots were just driving down the field and the momentum was going completely one way. And then David Harris got that pick on Tom Brady and the game completely changed because you felt if the Patriots get in the end zone, it's going to be demoralizing and this game could get out of hand quickly. But when Jordan Whitehead got that pick, I felt like the game changed. Even though they still ended up going up 14-3, it just felt different. So I felt that came to mind as soon as he got that pick.
It felt like we really evened out the game again. Now, I would say this is definitely the best Jets defense even since the Rex days. I think it might actually be a little bit better than the Rex defense in 2009 because Rex had to really scheme a lot of pressure. He never had that second or third. And again, even when in 2009 they had Lito Shepherd as their second corner next to Revis, they had to blitz a lot. They got figured out a little bit, and then you started seeing again they just threw away from Revis and they were able to dice us up down the stretch against Peyton Manning. But 2010 they had Revis Cromartie, but they didn't have a 3, right? So Kyle Wilson was the 3, and I think Michael Carter really evens out that secondary nicely. And now that the Jets get a natural pass rush, I think it's definitely a better it can be a better defense than those 2010 teams, but that's going to help them really carry into the postseason. They can get pressure with just about anybody. And now no one's talking about rotations anymore. Remember, everybody was like, oh, well, why is this guy rotating? Right.
I fucking
and I was one of them.
That.
And I was one of them too. But I was like, you know what? It's because we're losing. We're magnifying, nitpicking at the small things. Now you see guys like Nathan Shepard, Solomon Thomas, Michael Clemens, Vinny Curry, Quinnen
Yes.
Williams. All these guys are starting to get really hot, and they're keeping up that same momentum. And once they get to the third down package with JFM and Lawson and Bryce Huff, it's crickets.
Well,
Facts.
and the fact that our offense was able to stay on the field longer than the Bills, we won the time of possession.
Kept them fresh.
When our defense came out, on top of the fact that they're rotating, because they were barely on the field, they were fresh. They were all over the field. So, yes, I was one of them. I was calling for Ulbricht's head. I hated it. I was like, if Quinnen Williams is only getting almost just 60% of the snaps and he's supposed to be our best player, it's ridiculous. Aaron Donald gets like 90%. So I was definitely calling for that. But you're right. Once you're winning, you don't – it's working. It's working.
All of a sudden, the formula is not so crazy anymore, isn't it?
No,
For sure.
no, you're right. Garrett Wilson. So I heard you say earlier, you think Garrett Wilson, nobody touches him. It looks like the Wilson to Wilson collection is finally picking up.
Finally.
And it took long enough because I felt like Joe Flacco was looking for Garrett Wilson all the time. But, I mean, maybe Corey Davis not being on the field has kind of helped because he's had to look for Garrett Wilson. Because when Corey Davis is on the field, it's almost like guaranteed that Zach Wilson is looking for Corey Davis.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's helped a lot.
And I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be big down the stretch when Corey gets back, that now he'll have two receivers that he can really trust. And I think the offense can only get better when he has guys that he can trust out there. Would love for them to try to somehow get more involved. But again, now he's like the third or fourth option in the offense. Mims is a big body that adds a nice piece to the offense. Garrett is going to be a primary focus, I think, because his just explosive ability is off the charts. But
sure.
I think that'll help. That'll just really help our offense. Now we'll have the run game and set the tone. But Garrett being a primary open guy can get open. Don't forget about Corey Davis. Don't forget about Mims and the tight ends, and we'll be in good shape.
What do you think about the whole Elijah Moore thing? Now he was looking like Tyreek Hill before every snap. He was being moved in motion all the time. When Zach hit Mims on that third down play on that last drive, I thought it was Elijah Moore that caught the ball. I got really excited. I was like, wow, he finally gets involved and gets the biggest catch of the game. It ended up being Mims. So I don't even think he got a target, but he was being moved in motion a lot.
He did not.
What's going on there?
The closest he got to the ball was running around Zach.
Yeah.
Truthfully. But he got more snaps.
Yeah.
He got more snaps. Like he had maybe 8 or 9 snaps in the Patriot game. He was in the 30s again for this game. He's not a primary focus. I think the Jets are still holding him accountable. Remember, he was getting a lot of targets in the first couple weeks of the season. Even when Zach came back, he had about 4 or 5 targets when he came back. But once he started opening his mouth about the trade, I just don't think the Jets coaches are ready to sit here and go, okay, well, here's your targets. It's almost like you're appeasing somewhat like a bad employee.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I think they want to see him continue to give his full effort on each play. Mims has been able to get himself out of the doghouse. We thought Mims was never going to really play this year, but now Mims has carved himself a role because he stepped up and started playing. I think they want to see more. Are you willing to do what you have to do to win the game, to win games? Are you willing to block? Are you willing to be a decoy on the motions? And you know what? If he does those things right and he keeps on having that good energy and good positive attitude, I think they'll start getting him involved. I think they have to. I think it'll make their offense more potent down the stretch.
I love that they're moving him in motion. That's why I really like. He's gonna get the ball. He's gonna get a drag route. He's gonna get a slant, a screen, something. I was expecting something, but I'm glad that they're using him in motion because I feel like that they're setting it up. It's coming. We just gotta wait, but it's coming. So Manny, what did you think about Zach Wilson as far as? Because I know he's a game manager. That's what I wanted him to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we had just Fireman Ed on here a couple weeks ago. And when I suggested that he was going to be a game manager, he's like, F that. He's too special to be a game manager. And he's right. I don't want him to be a game manager.
We do agree with that.
For his career.
Right. I agree too.
But I want 2009 Mark Sanchez. I want game manager for this season. Grow into your role. Get comfortable doing the boring plays, and when you see a big play opportunity, use that arm strength and take advantage. But let's manage the game and win games this year. So I know that that's what's happening right now, Manny. but I do think he had a couple big-time plays. I was curious, what do you think was his biggest play? Because I have one in mind. I don't know if anybody's going to have the one I have in mind, but what do you think was the biggest play for him right now?
I don't have one. I have a litany of things that I saw, and I'm pretty sure you guys will both appreciate this.
Okay.
What I enjoyed from seeing Zach, what I thought Zach did best, in fact, and you guys kind of touched on it when we came into the show, was how many big-time third down conversions he had. There was about 3 huge ones before that fumble to Von Miller that he had just in the third quarter itself. 3rd and 9, 3rd and 6. He had another one on 3rd and 2. And then ultimately the one that he passed over to James Robinson and then got you into the end zone to take the lead. But for me was the fact that last week you used his post-game interview to show that smugness. And you're like, this guy should not be acting like this. And I said, I kind of like it.
I loved it. I personally liked it. I personally liked
not
it.
Me. The way he looked like such a fucking dick.
Right. I understood your point. You're like, do something before you act that smug. But what I told Danny
Aaron Rodgers can get away with that. Not Zach Wilson. Not yet.
Right. What I told him last week, Just, is the reason I like it is, one, it's a New York media. They're going to eat you alive if you even come a little soft at them. That was the one part I liked. The second part I liked, he was answering the questions in a smug way, but they were legit answers. Like, I'm not going to sit here and think about it. It's on to the next week, and that's exactly what he did. The one thing I didn't think he was going to be able to do, and again, this is why I ultimately thought you guys would lose this game, I didn't think he could go back to what he was doing being a game manager, but boy, was I wrong. The big-time third down conversions, Danny, for me, were the biggest plays of the game for Zach Wilson. The guy did what he had to do to win that game for you guys, and I get it. It was mainly defense, running the rock effectively, but he had some big-time throws. And that 3rd and 9 scramble for the first down, that was big time. And he didn't slide. He went in there to try to get more yards.
What about you, Just? Did you think it was a play that stood out to you from Zach Wilson?
If we want to be really funny, that last taking the sack. I mean, I think
that was
Zach,
my play. That's the one I was gonna say.
I think Zach wanted to throw a touchdown so bad. I think just to prove. I think he's got an ego, you know. And we said Green Bay. Remember the Green Bay interview? He was talking about how bad he wants to prove why he was the number 2 overall pick. He's been low recruited out of high school. He had to earn the job at BYU. He's gotten the big praise here, and people are just trashing him every week. I think he wants to go out there and throw touchdowns. What Manny said about the scrambles that he had were massive. He had a scramble right before he threw the touchdown to James Robinson, making winning plays. And what killed, I think he was so smug because he knew that he killed the Jets' opportunity to beat the Patriots that week.
For sure.
To be honest, he was throwing the ball over the lot. He was doing whatever he had to do at will. But he had a lot of opportunities to run and extend plays and give the Jets a chance to win. And he finally did that last week, just taking sacks when he needed to, scrambling when he had to, and making the throws when they counted. The 3rd and 5 play to Mims obviously put the icing on the cake. It allowed the Jets to kill more time, and Buffalo had to use timeouts after that.
Yep.
So he hits that 3rd and 5, but then, of course, the sack on 3rd and goal, the Buffalo played it perfectly. He wanted to throw an interception, but he took the sack. We got the field goal. Put it on somebody else's tab to win you the game.
And that's literally what I was going to say. That, to me, that was what showed me that he's getting it here. Because not only did he not force it, but he didn't throw it away. Because a lot of times he runs towards the sideline and throws it away. But he's like, I can't stop the clock. Let me take this sack. We're still in field goal range. The clock will keep moving. They got to call a timeout if they got one. Like, I thought that was a really heady play. And I was really happy that he did that. So to me, that was the play that I thought was the best. Now, I just want to play a quick clip for you, which is basically what we just went over.
Yeah.
But this is what Dan Orlovsky was going through and saying.
This is a perfect example of it. 2nd and 9, okay? No one is open. Buffalo's playing their man coverage. Last week, he ran around and threw the ball to the other team. This time, throw it away. Why?
Because
the very next play,
hard to make sure you throw it out of bounds.
Credit Buffalo. They do a great job in their man coverage. But the throwaway allows Zach Wilson to say, okay, now put my foot in the ground. Let me go scramble for a first down.
Here it is.
That's the perfect example of live to see another down. Exactly. A little bit later, they're going to get into a 3rd and 3 situation. They want to throw a choice route to the bottom of the screen. Buffalo ins and outs it. Perfect coverage. Don't force it. Don't just throw it to somebody. Scramble.
Good
use your legs. Go get pick up first down. The very next play, you call a screen pass. Motion, pulls the defenders away to the top of the screen. You got one-on-one left backside. Find a way to get that screen thrown off. Dump to James Robinson, top of the numbers, and stay there.
If I knew you were going to use my plays, I would have prepped even better for that.
He's getting it. Josh Allen had an interview last week, and he said my 18th game was against the Patriots, my second year, and I threw 3 interceptions against them in the first half. I think he said, or maybe it was just the whole game. But he said after that game, everything started to click for me. And to me, these highlights and these examples that we're talking about tell me things are starting to click for him. So I'm starting to feel a lot better about where we're going. Now, do you think the expectations, Manny, have changed for the Jets now that we came into the bye week at 6-3? Instead of, I thought we would be 4-5, 5-4, somewhere in there, either 4 or 5 wins. We're 6-3. It's bye week. What do you think, Nate?
I hate that I have to, again, be on the show and take these receipts down my goddamn throat. But the fact that I said you guys wouldn't even be sniffing that in the hunt mark.
Yep.
Danny, I'll swallow it, man. I don't see how you guys aren't fighting for a playoff spot come December. I can't. I had this vivid thing in my head right now. You said I want to at least be in the hunt come December. And I hate to say this.
And you probably weren't watching, but in the beginning of the season, one of our first shows, I said my goal for the team is if in December, by Christmas, if they show that graphic and we're not in the playoffs, but it says in the hunt and our logo is under there, I'm happy. That's what I wanted.
Right.
And it was looking like we're going to be there.
I was in a similar spot too. So
my ultimate thing here is, and I'll leave it with this so we could get Justin's take on it. I honestly think, and I'm putting it out, I don't want to put it out to the universe, but I'm going to say it, that final game between the Dolphins and the Jets is going to have a very big implementation to where we're going to finish the season as far as in the playoff rankings. I really do see that.
We're going to fuck you up.
I don't know about that, but but I do see it mattering. Before, I thought it would just be a game where you guys are literally trying to knock us off, either A, out of the playoffs, or B, give us a worse seeding that we're probably going to go into. But right now, I have a strong feeling that come end of the season, that game's going to be way more important than what I originally thought week 1 when we first recorded.
What about you, Justin?
I was so beat down over the last couple of years with the Gase, and even last year with such a young team getting bullied week to week. I wanted to see I didn't want the season over by October. That's what I wanted that. But I
wanted meaningful games.
I am starving for playoffs. I was 15 years old when last time we were in the playoffs, and I'm starving for it. So I had that. I didn't want to get too high because, again, if you expect too much, you get disappointed more. But I wanted to at least be in the mix, have meaningful football in November and December. Don't have our season be dead by October. By the time October 1st comes around, we're 0-3, 0-4. I didn't want that. I wanted to see us grow as a team. I knew that we had a lot of talent. I knew that we were better than last year. It's a matter of how we're going to go out there and find a way to win. We have to be that team that's going to be out there and playing meaningful football down the stretch. And I think we're at that spot. Now, I think they shift. I think it should change week to week. I don't think Jet fans should expect a deep playoff run like the Bengals. Do we have enough talent? Maybe. But I think we have to just at least get to 10 wins. I think 10 wins is more than reasonable for this team. Just get to that winning spot and be in the conversation. I think right now they control their own destiny. So can we just make sure that we continue to elevate, get a little bit better in the second half of the season, but let's get to the playoffs. Let's get to that 10-win mark because I think that'll get us in.
We just got to go 4-4 to get to 10 wins at this point.
I was about to say before you give me your take, Danny. I put this specifically for you because you remember when you said playoffs and I used that playoffs. Yeah. I used that skit against you. But Danny, before you give me your expectations, you just said it. Even if you finish 4-4 at worst, you got 10 wins. 10 wins in the AFC. I think you sneak into a wild card.
I would assume so. I think 9 wins is like where it's going to be like a 9-win team that makes the 7th seed.
Like us last year, we had 9 wins and one win.
Tiebreakers, right.
Yep.
The tiebreakers block you out. So I think 10-win almost gets you in, almost for sure. I think if we can get those 4 wins, that's it. Now, is it a disappointment if we don't make the playoffs?
I don't think so, man.
I don't think so either. What sucks is that I feel like because we've exceeded expectations so quickly that I think that expectations for most fans is we got to make the playoffs. Because if you think about the next 8 games, if we lose 4 of them, coming off the fact that we've won 6 out of 9, it's going to feel rough because we've been on a crazy high over the last 9 weeks.
Facts.
Especially when you talk about just the last 6 weeks. So we've been on a crazy high. So if we go from a crazy high to going 4-4, it's going to not feel as good. So I don't think overall it's a disappointment. I think it'll feel that way at some point. Because obviously, if you lose 4 games, it sucks. But no, I think as long as they're still competitive and we almost get in the playoffs and we lose by like a tiebreaker or something, I still think it's a successful season, especially if Zach Wilson keeps showing promise. Now, if Zach Wilson looks like shit the next 8 weeks, and we don't make the playoffs, then we have an issue. Because then we know we have a good team, but we still don't have the most important piece.
Well, and I'll get your take right now, Justin, on this because I think he just brought up a very good point. If you lose 4 out of the next 8 games that are remaining, and you lose them because of Zach, that's going to be a big tell to what you guys potentially have to look for next year. But if you lose in spite of his play, like if he continues to be a game manager, if he continues to not lose you those games, that could be worked on. You're like, all right, we put some more pieces around him. You guys get Mekhi Becton back next year. You get AVT fully healthy. That's adding to an offensive line that me and Danny thought was going to be very special. So I don't think that if you lose and you don't make the playoffs this season, or even if you do make and you get knocked out in the first round, I don't think it's a loss. I think it's now you're going into next season the way Dolphin fans were coming into this season. We're like, we finished hot last year. Now we added Tyreek Hill. Now we added this other component. We built around Tua. I think that's what you guys go into next year. And I'm sorry, we're getting our head up. So we're not talking about next year because we still have a lot of football left. I'm going to have to assume that you think the same way, that you have so many good building blocks, 2 that are currently on injured reserve, that you have to be, regardless of the way the season looks, if Zach Wilson shits the bed, that's the negative. But if he doesn't, you have to be pretty positive outlook for next season as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think right now, the second half is a big opportunity for Zach to continue to grow week to week. I think he'll have a couple opportunities on the schedule against the Jaguars, the Lions, to have some nicer games. Yeah. Maybe going home to Utah and having some of his mom's cooking this week is going to help him really get his mind right.
Or his mom's best friend's cooking.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He might. I think the bye week is only going to help him. I think it came at a perfect time. I think he was able to get over the Patriots game. He's got 5 wins under his belt. He beat the Bills. He helped contribute to a win against the Bills. The formula is clear for the Jets. Don't turn the ball over. Let the defense be larcenous. Get the pass, rush the passer, and run the ball. The Jets will be in those games. Now, if Zach can take that step that he showed towards the second half of last season, I think it can get a little bit more fun. But I think we're in a good spot where we should be able to get 4 wins, and if we can get to 11, even better. And back to the Josh Allen point.
Yeah.
If Josh Allen has to miss time,
there you go.
You're talking, they're playing some tough teams down that stretch. If he has to miss 2 or 3 games, that could make this race even more interesting. We may not be talking about just who's going to get a wild card. That last game of the season, never know. It could be for the AFC East. But we'll have to see what Josh Allen, how that plays out.
That's a solid point, because before it was like Danny and I, we talked about it. We thought the Patriots were going to be the 4 seed the whole entire season. We're like, they've definitely taken a step back. They've won some good games. We'll give them that. Bill Belichick, Danny's a fan of Bill Belichick as far as what he could still do with that team. But what we initially thought was just a race for second place could potentially be a race for first if he does miss some games. Danny?
Zach Wilson, everybody's killing him for being a game manager, whatnot. And I wanted to look something up. And I'm not saying that he's ever going to become this player. Not even close, okay?
Right.
He's not even going to sniff this guy's Josh Trap.
I like the premise you did there. I like that.
I needed to, because, people get out of hand. But when Tom Brady came in for Drew Bledsoe, they didn't put the team on his back.
No.
He threw for 18 touchdowns that year. He threw for 12 interceptions. He threw for less than 3,000 yards in like 15 games, okay? So is Zach Wilson going to put up those numbers? He might not get 18 touchdowns. He might get some through the ground. But as long as he manages the game, I mean, he can improve later on. Nobody comes out and start slinging. Well, there are some players that come on slinging right away, but people are so impatient. And it started with Ben Roethlisberger. When Ben Roethlisberger came out his rookie year and made it to the AFC Championship, everybody's like, oh, rookie QB can get there. Then Joe Flacco and Matt Ryan made it to their conference championships. And after that, it's been a free fall. That's it. You got 1 year to prove it. If not, we're going to draft Kyler Murray the next year. Like, that's what it is now. Like, that's what it is. So, and before, I used to give him 2-3 years, sit on the bench for a year. Right. So I think it sucks that we give up on him so quickly. But I'm good with the way Zach is playing as of right now, game managing. I think he can improve. And we'll see about the playoffs.
Before we head out, it wouldn't hurt to see him have a game where he just lights up another team. Because
yes.
Listen, I may not be a fan of the Jets, but one thing I've always liked about this team recently has been Zach Wilson. I like Zach Wilson's potential, and my thing is that when he gets it up here, when he fully gets it, that head game in there, no pun intended, dude, that kid's gonna be special because he has special arm talent.
What do you consider lighting somebody up?
I mean, going out there and just having a no interception game, 3 touchdowns, 280.
Because
just sparking them up.
Okay. I mean, because the thing is, outside of the Lions and the shitty Dolphins, we don't really play against any bad defenses this year.
We don't let you in the end zone. That's all that matters, sir. You can come to my daughter's house, but we're not letting you in the room by yourself, sir.
We put a 40 on you, sir.
I don't remember that.
Now,
we'll
Justin,
get there.
Before we head out, now we're not going to predict the Patriots game because it's a bye week, so we're probably going to record next week and predict it. But you're probably not going to be on with us next week. So what do you think? I want to get your prediction for the Patriots game in a week and a half.
I think, one, the Jets know what's at stake. You want to get to the playoffs, you got to get through the New England hump. I think that's a monkey on their back they're trying to get off. I think the vibe around the team after the game was if they would have told them you're playing New England tonight, I think that team would have been ready to go that night. New England's on a bye week as well. I think the Jets are going to go beat New England on the road. I think the Jets are going to also beat the Bears after that. I think the Jets are going to be in a prime spot going into the last 4.
I
think they are. I think they are. But 1 week at a time.
Get me excited.
I think the Jets are going to bounce back. If they don't turn the ball over and they just play good defense, I think they're already better than the Patriots. But again, anything can happen on any Sunday. Belichick is him. But I really do believe that this team is hungry to get up to New England and go prove themselves. I think they will.
They've been, after that Patriots game, they were all saying, we'll see them in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it was. They
have it on their calendar.
As soon as that game ended, they were like, we cannot wait to get these guys again. So I agree with you. I think they're going to come out guns blazing, and I hope to be at that game. I'm trying to find my way over to Boston to go to that game.
Trying to get a little cold air in you, huh?
Yeah, I'm tired. It doesn't get cold down here, man. It's hot, 365. So it gets a little old.
You'll have a good time.
Listen, man, before we head out, brother, it was a pleasure getting to know you. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Listen, after watching that highlight reel that Danny showed me when he's like, hey, here's where we have him, like, oh, this dude's going to be perfect for what we're trying to bring to the show because the dynamic works just because of how middle of the pack we are about our teams. But you were just right out there. You were able to keep up the vibe, and it was definitely great getting to know you and talk some football with you.
I was well-mannered today, Manny. I ain't talking a lot of shit to you today.
No, you did it. It was nice. It was nice.
No, I appreciate it, guys. This is an awesome time just talking some football. It doesn't matter if he's a Patriots fan, Dolphins fan, Bills fan. If you love football, you're going to talk about it and enjoy talking about it with whoever you got. It doesn't matter what they root for. So I appreciate the opportunity.
You hear that?
I just appreciate the opportunity. We're always going to call the fair. We're going to have our alliances, but again, we keep it respectful. We have a good time.
All right, and if you want to catch Justin C, it's JUSSTNC on basically all social media platforms, right? TikTok,
I'm dropping that follow on Twitch right now, man.
Twitter,
I appreciate it. I appreciate
TikTok, all that stuff. So, because we're not all on YouTube, so in case anybody's listening, they want to follow. Go ahead.
I'm on YouTube as well, so you'll find all my videos with my thumbnails screaming and having a good time. So I appreciate everybody. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your
enthusiasm. All right, and thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next week before we hit week 11 or week 10. Oof. It's coming. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out. Peace.